Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is all about preparation on a real chessboard with no digital interface. So now you are able to understand the Sicilian accelerated dragon Maróczy bind, following by a 15-move line of a strong preparation. Let's jump right into it. White opens with the king's pawn, controls the center, the f5 and d5 squares, and opens up this long diagonal to the bishop. c5. The characteristic move of the Sicilian defense controls d4 and black guarantees that the position will become imbalanced, looking to exchange the c-pawn, a side pawn, for a central pawn of white, the d-pawn. In the meantime, white goes for knight f3, developing the knight toward the center, looking for quick development and keep an eye on d4. Black continues his development on the queen side, bringing out the knight to c6, fighting the center, especially reinforced the control for d4 square. How white will continue here? White continues with the battle for the center of the board with d4, also opening up the center and looking for quick development of his pieces. C takes d4, grabbing the pawn and fighting the center by having two central pawns versus one of white. Looking forward for long-term positional advantage, knight takes d4 simply recaptures the pawn but places the knight in a good square in the center of the board, controlling many good squares. What will be the plan for black? And black goes for g6, the dragon setup, to put his dark square bishop on b7 and then brings the knight out to f6. Will it be the accelerated dragon preparation here? Let's see. White responds with c4, the characteristic move of the Maróczy bind system with e4 already played on the first move of white, which creates this huge control for d5 square and also a strong presence and domination of the center. Bishop g7, black is follow up the fianchetto system and put his bishop on the long diagonal, fighting back the center on the dark squares, since white is dominating the white squares. Bishop d3, simply defending the knight and activates his dark square bishop fighting the center. White can think about the typical maneuver of the queen to d2 and build up a strong battery with the bishop on this diagonal. And we see on the board d6, fighting the center, an excellent move for black, which complements a bigger control on the dark squares on the center of the board. This is becoming a very sharp positional play for the time being. Knight c3, developing another piece toward the center, increasing the control over d5 square, and also protects the pawn on e4. Queen a5, that move activates very well his queen and increases the pressure on the center, controlling the 5th rank and pinning the knight on c3 for the moment, keeping an eye on the white king. For the moment, white has no concern about the dark queen to be on that position, simply follows up with development on the king side, bringing out his light square bishop and makes castle possible at any time. Black continues with this development and complementing the fianchetto setup with this already bishop on g7 and now the knight on f6, also preparing for castle next move maybe. White puts his king on safety and get ready for the battle on the middle game next. Notice that white has no pieces in front of his king. They are on the center, prepared to fight and expand on the center of the board. And in other end, black has his king well defended with 3 pieces, since we are already seeing short castling for black, and put his king on safety too. Now what's the plan for white here? White goes for f4, staying very active, increases the control for the center and also increases the tension in the middle of the board, and at the same time it's grabbing more space on the king side. Bishop d7 brings his last piece into the play on a flexible square and also connects his rooks. White is thinking for a bit here. Both players were blitzing out their moves, following their preparation. There you have it, knight b3, bringing back with the knight to kicking away the queen. That was left with no much of a good squares available. Where the black will go with this queen? Queen to d8, a safe square. If black would have played queen to c7, white would put his rook on c1, then jumping with the knight to d5, making a double attack to the knight and the queen, forcing the queen to move away from the c7 square. If black would capture the knight on d5 with his knight, then white would simply takes back with the pawn and attack the knight that is pinned by the rook on c1. That's why queen d8 is the best move in the position. In the meantime, we are already seeing on the board rook to c1. The dark queen is not on c7, but the white's rook is well centralized on the c-file. Black goes for b6, plan B, thinking about to bringing back his light square bishop to c8, then rerouting it to this long diagonal. That happens because black has no longer possible the plan A, with a6, then b7 to b5 break, with the dark queen supporting from a5. That's why it's very important to you to know these preparations and the ideas behind. In the meantime, white goes for h3, avoiding the knight to go to g4 and attacks the bishop, and with g3 move also prepares the g4 launch. In the meantime, black is following his plan with the maneuver of the light square bishop. This is a well-known theory, guys, already played out hundreds of times before. White moves his queen to free up the d1 square so a rook can go there and stay centralized. And also the queen can go to h4 later on to build and support an attack on the king side. Bishop b7. Now the bishop is ready for fighting on the middle game, very well placed, very active. Now how white will continue here? White thinks for a bit, trying to remember his preparation. And there you have it, rook d1, bringing in the rook on the c-file, threatening the e5 break, attacking the pawn and the knight on f6 at the same time, with the idea of the rook making a discover attack on the dark queen on the d-file. And in second plan, with the idea to keeping the other rook on the f-file, keeping an eye on the f5 break later on and the rook to supporting it. We did see the queen moving to a safer square, away from possible threats and tactics. This was a training, instructive and educational content that allows you to learn how to play this strong preparation. By following a 50-move line, you stay focused on that variation from start to finish, avoiding getting lost in excessive nuances. So you reach the end of this line with greater clarity. This preparation is very accurate because most of the moves are theory, the well-known moves played hundreds of times before, and then a few moves suggested by the computer. This content is important to you, not only to know the moves of this variant and memorize them, but to understand the line and the ideas behind. So the challenge for you to learn and improve is this great opportunity to follow these 4 steps. Comment your thoughts below. Suggest a new opening for me to do another strong preparation for you. Oh, and just subscribe to be part of this community. There is a lot of high quality preparation coming your way. A huge and sincere thank you to you.